broadcasting. And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Woo!
Dungeons
Indeed.
great.
I want my
That
D&D.
I suddenly go to the Weird Al version, but that is unrelated to what we're doing here, so I'm going to just move on past that reference that nobody else cares about and introduce myself. I'm Christiana Ellis. I'm the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight, Jenny Meltzer as Zaylene,
Hello.
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn,
Good evening.
Starla Hutchton as Carolina Swift,
Hello, friends.
and Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry Shinyrock.
Imagine a place where all things can be answered, but all you end up with is more questions.
And we are down one James Meltzer tonight, but we will address that in story momentarily. But first, let's talk a little bit about what happened last time. Where did we leave our Heroes of Legend? No, not the Heroes of Legend, the Pocket Protectors. We've been doing this for a year. It's enough to remember. You having successfully extracted the Nightmare Corruption from a red dragon in the elemental plane of fire, were on your way to the city of Brass across the cinder wastes, hoping to find a way to return to the prime material plane, when you stumbled across what appears to be an infinite party dimension. And not only is it an infinite party dimension, but it is apparently the very same infinite party dimension where Zinhorn, as a child, wandered in with his parents, only for him to be separated and lost from them for a long time, and now reunited, except from their perspective, it's only been a few days, and they are mostly glad that he is back. But you began to interrogate your mysterious host, a strange figure who claims to have created this entire party dimension for the explicit purpose of having there be one place in all the multiverse where there is no suffering, and a place where everyone can have anything that they want, and they can stay as long as they like, and it's just a place where people can escape from all the cruelty and harshness of the outside world and the various planes. But everyone kind of suspected that there was something else going on. There's some mystery. Why did Zinhorn get separated from his parents in the first place? What's happening here? What's going on? And eventually it was suggested by the host that you speak to his backstage manager, a being by the name of Petruska. And as you found yourself zipped through a sort of veil of shadow, finding yourself very much in a backstage type environment. It's a very shadowy place where all of the hard work is done behind the scenes for the rest of the party layers. You found that Petruska seems to have been able to influence the host in some ways, and now has asked you to stop causing disruptions. And we're going to pick up just about right there, but before anything else happens, you all hear from off to the side, you hear Wuta saying, "Whoop, here I go again." And as you watch, he just flickers out of existence.
Really does happen that way.
Wow.
Whoop, there he goes.
Petruska says, "Well, now that is an interesting affliction."
What does Petruska look like?
So she is classic hag. No, she is a very tall but hunched over humanoid figure. Very long, skinny arms with long fingers with like claws on the end, like 8-inch long fingers, for example. And she's got You don't see a whole lot of detail on her beyond the shape because she's kind of hiding in the shadows, but you sort of get a sense of her figure, and long stringy hair hanging down, partially covering her face, but yeah, not what you'd call conventionally beautiful.
But not one of the nightmares that we've seen before.
Well, I mean, you haven't seen a single nightmare look the same twice, but
But not like
you've also not had any of them talk to you. So,
I
But not
think we
like-
means the tangle feet.
oh
Yeah.
yes, well,
yeah,
no, not
yeah.
in that. No, so it does not look like that. She looks you over and sees you kind of deciding how to react, and she says, "Now, let me be clear about something, because I know where this is going. It has happened before." "Oh, this isn't real. This is too good to be true. You're controlling the host. It must be some sort of a sinister ulterior motive." Am I close?
Oh yeah, spot on.
What I would suggest to you is an alternate way of looking at this. I'm not controlling the host. He and I are a duality. Have you, any of you ever prepared a fine meal?
Not my chosen profession, really, but
Well, let
I've
me
eaten a fine
suggest
meal.
to you that if you were to eat at a fancy restaurant, you would be served a plate with impeccable presentation, all the delectable feasts that would be placed just so on each plate, looking so beautiful and tasty. And you know what? If you were to go back in the kitchen, you would see all of the dirty dishes that were the result of that meal. It does not make the dirty dishes bad, it makes them a necessary consequence of preparing a fine meal. And that is what we do backstage. So yes, it's not pretty like the other layers, but what we do here makes that work.
well, so I'm generally not one to judge by appearances, but the host seemed very suddenly accommodating.
Yes, and I will explain to you that the exact reason for that, and I understand where you're coming from, as I mentioned, I have had this conversation before. He is the smiling mask. I am the crying mask. He presents the good impression, the positive spin, the sales pitch. He can't be burdened by the complication of knowing when there are problems. It is at his request that he is not troubled by the more complicated bits of our operation. I take that on at his request.
So you have problems.
Well, so, as mentioned, the host would not say so because that is his role.
Well, I'm not speaking to the host. I'm speaking to you.
Well, let me put it this way. We are, in fact, something that exists and therefore is subject to problems. Now, what we do is work very hard to make those problems not affect our guests. Unless, of course, we have guests who are not invited, bringing those problems and proactively inserting them into the party layers, at which point we sometimes have to intervene, as we are discussing now.
right, but the thing is, our friend here, and I just Richard Zinhorn, he was invited and he actually used to be here. until he was one day, I don't know, ejected out of this place as a small child and thrust into the outer world. Yeah, and
So,
I
before
mean,
we delve deeper into the logistics of how such a thing might happen, what I want to know from you is what you consider the problem to be.
me or Zinhorn, because
What conversation are we having here? You introduced the subject of Zinhorn. I am trying to establish a common context for us to discuss the issue.
Okay, so big picture stuff is we're kind of going around little pocket places and things. I mean, that's what we do. And pull out a business card and kind of hand it to her.
Yeah, so
No,
she
she
reaches
takes
out
it.
her extremely long arm. It feels like it's almost stretching as it reaches out. It's like from 15 feet away. She takes this card and holds it up. Oh, very
And-
clever.
Yes, well, we have been
She eats it.
encountering certain individuals that have been causing chaos and of the very malicious kind.
Yes.
All we are wondering is if perhaps something like that is or has happened here.
So, I'm curious. Hypothetically, were it happening here, what business is that of yours exactly?
Well, we know about it. And not many people do. And it's our job. It's what we do. We protect things.
Well, okay. So, you protect things from what exactly?
It's a very long story, and really, the less you know, the better.
well,
Trust
not
me.
really, because I mean, she is kind of in control of this pocket dimension behind the scenes. So maybe she does need to know about the problem.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
I mean, for all we know, she might be the problem. And that's what we're
Yeah,
trying to
but-
find out, right?
right.
Well, I might be
So-
able to detect if there's any corruption in this particular area. I have a little bit of magical ability in that particular direction, but it's new. Also, you might know a considerable amount, which I'd really like to interview you for. That is, if you're willing.
And I
Well-
have questions about time.
So, all of this gets down to brass tacks, so to speak. And so, let me go ahead and put it on the table, and then we can discuss the particulars, all right? What I can't have you do is go back to the party layers and continue to make problems and upset the people there, because that goes against the entire purpose of our organization, after all. However, we can discuss anything you like back here. And if all you want to do is have a conversation and then leave, then I am sure that we have a great deal of useful information that we could share with you. But
I don't.
I have gotten the impression that you have not yet made up your minds of whether this place is okay or not.
Well, I
place is
think that
amazing.
it mostly depends on the conversation. We're not interested in if you have a good thing going on here. Like if this is really a good place for these people and they're happy here. We don't want to upset that.
All
But I
right.
am curious about the flow of time. For me, 15 years has passed since I left this place, and almost 80 since I first came in. By the reckoning of the outside. My parents think only a few days has passed since they've seen me, and for me it's been 15 years. Now, the host said that shouldn't be possible, that time here flows the same as it does in the prime material plane. But obviously that's not true.
Well, it's complicated, you see. because I'm sure you are all aware of the phenomenon, which is common to most mortal creatures, that the passage of time, the perception of time, is subjective.
Yeah, but the aging of the body is not. And I was in here with
Well,
my parents for quite some time.
I'm not disputing
By
your account. I'm explaining, at least in the preliminary sense, that the answer may be more complicated than you expect. It's not as though I have a button to press. What I'm suggesting to you here is that part of how this operation is powered, so to speak, is we make use of that feeling. The sense that time passes more quickly when you are enjoying yourself can, in fact, be harnessed, and is here. We take the subjective and make it literal. And that is very much part of how we are able to maintain our little pocket here, as you call it. Now, as it happens, Master Zinhorn, or do you prefer Mr. now? It seems as though you haven't made up your mind whether you're still that child or not.
I'm a cleric of Rushama.
Very well. As it happens, Zinhorn, the reason that you found yourself expelled from the party is because you were cursed by an outside influence. Not my doing.
Cursed by an outside influence.
Yes. As the host explained to you, our guests are free to leave as they like, and it just so happens that we do a good job, resulting in our guests not wanting to leave. However, they can if they choose. And what happened is that someone laid a little magical whammy on young Zinhorn and made him leave his parents behind at such a tender age. Rather cruel trick, but not one that we were capable of reversing.
Would that have also happened to a baby Grey Render?
Oh. I noticed the commonality of the arrival. And, now that you mention it, the smell on him. Yes. Have you been associating with our little Grey Render?
Yes, his name is Buster,
Is it?
and he's my friend.
Really?
Yes.
Our paths crossed in Gorn. Some children had found him.
So she leans way forward and her neck seems to kind of stretch out almost like dragon-like as she starts just smelling you, Zinhorn. Well, isn't that interesting? I must congratulate you, Zinhorn, that it is quite uncommon to have produced a situation that results in a Grey Render tolerating you. And even perhaps obeying commands?
Yeah, somewhat.
I suspect that this Grey Render, who was lost to us through means that we encountered strange magical anomalies rubbing up against the boundaries of our pocket, and it created a little hole which Buster fell out. The fact that you encountered him and you were drawn to each other is fascinating to me.
Are there more holes? Did
Well-
they seal?
Well, we've done our best to patch them.
And stepping back a moment, someone cursed me.
Yes.
Is that someone inside the party? Do you know who that
No,
being
no,
is?
no. You came in with it.
I came in with it.
I suspect, though your parents are not, I wouldn't say fully aware of all the ins and outs, but I suspect that they rather hoped that the curse would no longer be a problem once you are here. Unfortunately, that was not the case.
Do you think your parents knew about this, Zinhorn?
This is all news to me. I would need to ask my parents if they knew about it, but
I
I'm
consider
taking it on face value that what you're saying is true because I've lived among clerics for the last 15 years and no one's ever noticed any kind of curse on me.
Now, they may
Sounds
not have had
kinda
occasion to
odd.
try. Curses are very subtle sometimes.
And you were very young when you left here, so it's possible they found it and got rid of it at the time. You just don't remember.
it may also
Well-
be that the curse itself was of limited duration, and once it had had its function, it left you. I don't know. It wasn't my curse. I wasn't honestly all that interested. It was a little frustrating to lose you, but we carry on. After all, the whole point of what we do here is that lots of terrible things, like curses, happen outside, and it is our goal to try to prevent those things from causing distress to our guests.
So do you think, Zinhorn, maybe that's why your parents came here in the first place?
I haven't had a chance to talk with them about it, but my mother is the one that received the information, is what I glean from what I've found out so far, and I don't know what the effects of all of that are.
So you don't remember anything at all about why your parents wanted to come here when you were a kid?
No, I don't remember them. I mean, I remember them coming to investigate a thing, and they were adventurers. But I don't remember specifically. And like I said previously, like my time here, I remember almost none of it.
You may remember, but it might be buried. We could take a trip through your mind. I have a few spells
Yeah.
that can work on that.
Well, I mean, we were already planning to do that before we stumbled upon this. Like, we were going to try to use the pipe to go back through Zinhorn's memory.
That too.
Yeah.
Pipe
Um,
may only work on memories that are willingly given or which can be remembered, whereas I might be able to push a little deeper. But you mentioned holes, and that they were patched up as best as you could. Would it be possible to take a look at those patches, just to see how you did it and if there's any other evidence? We're tracing, well, the remnants of a storm.
Well, so here's the problem. This is quite a sophisticated operation that we have here, and not that I am intending to convey any sense of insult to you, but it would be a little bit like if you patched up a brick wall in a physical dwelling and then tried to explain to your pet goldfish how you did it.
I admit that the magic is considerably above my current skills, but I'm not without means or abilities.
Uh, y- my apologies. It is less about your intellectual capacity and more about your physical ability to perceive the hole in question. It's not something I can go stand you in front of and you can look at it with your eyes.
Huh. That's was it, when it first happened. Could it be visibly seen? Because we actually experienced the same thing in our own private pocket dimension, and it was something that we see.
Well, all I'm saying is that if you are interested in the magical formulae and so on that describe the magical effects, I am sure that you could spend lots of time with books and study up on it to understand the phenomenon. What I'm saying is that I can't stand you in a room where you can look at a hole, because
Understood.
it is not physical in that sense. It is at a higher dimensional of existence.
I
So
would love to spend a considerable amount of time studying the geography here, but we probably shouldn't.
the anomaly that you brushed up against, do you know what sort of form that took when it happened?
Well, it is, in fact, a higher dimensional phenomenon as well, but I imagine that in the primaterial plane it would probably have appeared somewhat like a storm.
With little squid shrimp monsters.
Sure, why not?
So, when the hole opened and Buster fell out, um, there was a place where arms and hands that looked a lot like yours came through the hole and were trying to, um, I guess, lure people back in. Me, Buster, maybe some kids. Um, and there was a discordant version of the music playing.
Mm.
What's with the discordant version of the music?
Well, I would encourage you to listen right now, and I think as you kind of listen, you're hearing a little bit of that discordance um, present in the melody that's playing right now. And she says, "It is because we are backstage, where the problems of the outside world, including suffering, can occur because we are on this side, and it
You
conflicts."
didn't. You didn't happen to stick your hand through that hole trying to get something back and get, oh, I don't know, electrocuted by lightning?
Well, it just so happens that I did attempt, I sensed the presence of some children who might have been interesting guests. I was thinking that I might encourage them to join our party. But it was in the process of closing this hole. It was all very quick. There was not a lot of careful decision making happening at the same time. I what so you ask with the suspicion again? Is this what are you you're suspecting that I lure children into this party? Guess what? You're right. It's because the world outside is terrible and it's better in here.
Insight check. That those are
Okay.
her true intentions, that she's doing it to prevent suffering, and that
Okay.
the things she's telling us are above board.
All right. Let's see.
Oh, that's so weird. It's not launching.
Hmm.
Hang on, I think it's going now. Maybe. Hello.
Oh. So,
I saw it come up as a 13.
Okay. It didn't show up.
okay. Well, in any case,
So
yes,
13.
yeah. I mean, as far as you can tell, I mean, it makes sense to you given the stated, like the intentions of this place. Like, if the whole idea here is that they are helping to essentially rescue people from suffering, then I mean,
But they're
you
supposed to
don't
be
sense they're anything more
inviting.
than that. Hmm?
They're supposed to be inviting people who have suffered trauma, not kidnapping children. If
Not
you make the
necessarily.
if you make the argument that the outside world is always worse, then you can go around kidnapping children at will and tell yourself it's all because you're making things better, um, without actually providing any proof. And you're certainly making the outside world a worse place when you do it.
So, well, okay. So here's the thing. By kidnapping, as you put it, we are granting these children a suffering free existence for so long as they choose to enjoy it. Gosh, we're so sorry.
I have a question. You seem to do an awful lot of work here. What is it that you get out of all of this?
Well, as I mentioned, I and the host are a duality. It is a bit oversimplified to think of us as two distinct creatures in some ways. But just as the host enjoys the above board, the on stage, he gets to do all the fun stuff and he likes it. It is necessary for the person doing the behind scenes stuff to gain some enjoyment from it. Or else the whole thing doesn't work, does it?
So, what enjoyment do you get from it?
I'm not here to. I think we need to revisit the primary question that I have put on the table here. Look, this is something that we've been having in place for quite a long time. You kind of bumbled into it. Admittedly, Zinhorn at least has a connection which grants him some emotional investment. But I guess my point is, I'm willing to entertain your questions so long as that's what they are. If I have the impression that what you are doing is trying to psych yourself up to do something about it, then we're having a very different conversation, aren't we?
Well, I think the big question here is anybody being harmed by anything here? If not, then there's no problem at all.
Yeah. If people can leave of their own accord whenever they want to, then it's not a big deal to us. It's something that they've chosen for themselves. But, you were talking about those little children and protecting them from suffering. But if you lured them in and then didn't let them go, that's kind of not the same thing as protecting them from suffering.
Well, how about presenting it in the terms that we see it, which is we encourage them to come to a place that they will like better, and they do, and they like it better.
But if they wanted to leave,
Then they are allowed to, and yet they generally don't.
About that leaving and coming, I'm concerned about a couple of different points here. One, we, as you said, weren't really called or even enticed here. Most of us, anyway, Zinhorn and Buster being exceptions. And that implies that this place is well, I guess you might say vulnerable to entry by things that aren't intended, um, which I suppose is part of the domain of which you are dealing with. But with that said, and with the notion of the holes that were created by that outside force, do you think that something of that might have made its way into your domain, even in a more subtle way than you might normally be able to understand or detect? That's the concern, you see. This sort of corruption sneaks in, even with powerful and, well, self confident creatures, and has a way of influencing them in a negative way. You yourself might be so influenced. And that's the concern.
So it sounds like what you're asking me is if I am influenced in a way that I am unable to distinguish.
Well, moreover, if you aren't, if you are as powerful as this realm suggests, did you notice any other unusual entries about the time of those holes or when we came through?
No.
Well, that's good.
Now, as you mentioned, the reason that we are uh, vulnerable is one way to put it, I suppose. The way that you are able to just bumble on in is because, after all, if we were only ever bringing in invited guests, in some respects, that could raise questions of fairness. And so our occasional appearances in different planes of existence act as a bit of a lottery, gives a chance for those who are not otherwise invited to find us here. But they are, as I have attempted to explain, shown what we have to offer, and they are free to refuse it if they like, and sometimes they do. Although, generally speaking, it seems to me and to the host that we are offering a pretty good deal.
No,
Do you
some
sleep?
aren't satisfied like that.
Do I sleep? Ah, that's kind of a mortal question.
Yes, but I'd still like an answer.
No.
Hmm. Because one of the things that this corruption does when it sneaks in is it gives you nightmares.
Oh!
So
Oh, that's the Denetherian stuff.
Oh, you are familiar with it. I was going to raise the question, but it didn't seem like an appropriate time yet.
Ah, I
yes,
thought all that got sealed away. What a messy business that was.
Well,
uh,
it's sort of
yes.
not so
Well,
sealed, it seems. You
So,
know of it then.
oh
Those
yes.
chaotic elements that we were speaking of before, they are doing their best to unseal it.
Well, that sounds like all the more reason that people can find safety and enjoyment in here.
Well, for those who can, we have
and
to
then
go.
yeah, and until the nightmares get inside here, um, Buster got hurt a little while ago, and he faded. And it was only Zayneen's connection to the Mistress of the Dark that was able to bring him back.
Well, he is
And the
creation of
question,
our plane, after all. He is existing on yours through an accident. He is still connected to us. And the fact that he was injured there, I would argue, is one again a sign that outside is bad, in here is good.
Okay, but if
What purpose do the Grey
Buster,
Renders have here?
Security. Because after all, just as you wandered in and you are being relatively polite in your interrogations, there are occasions when people come in and are most insistent that they have some say about how we run things here. And they often have to be escorted out by force. And the Grey Renders are part of our team that assists in that process.
If when we leave, if Buster wants to come with us, would that be allowed?
If he wants to.
Yes.
Yes.
If he had the choice and he wanted to continue to travel with us, would you let him go?
See, the interesting thing there is that, of course, as previously indicated, beings within our domain are allowed to leave. I would be surprised to find him desiring to do so. After all, this is the place he was created for. Why would he wish to leave?
Because
He
he's
did.
my friend.
He did form quite a bond with Zinhorn, though I sometimes think that the fact that Zinhorn knew where he came from and could identify with that was what their connection came from, because maybe Buster thought that Zinhorn would be able to help him find his way home.
Well, it may be that that was the basis for their initial connection. Now, it may be that you have formed such a soul-touching connection with this Grey Render. You have named him and everything. Worked with him, pet him, I'm sure. I would ask,
Trained
though.
him, fed him,
Sure, I get it.
healed him,
Yes,
fought
oh,
beside him.
I am not trying to imply otherwise. But what I am asking you is to consider, if you care for this creature, and it sounds like you do, I have no reason to doubt you. Do you think that bringing him along with you on all of the dangerous things that you seem determined to do, is that the best thing for him, or just the best thing for you?
I think he deserves to choose. And if he chooses to stay, I will live with that choice.
Do you think that he is sophisticated enough to understand what he is choosing?
Hard to tell. He's definitely very, very smart.
Well,
And
let
I've
me
helped raise a lot of orphans, and he's one more on the list.
let me put it this way. If he chooses to leave with you, and I suspect, given your connection, he very well may choose to do so. And if he does, and he is hurt again, or falls, he will be lost forever. Whereas here, he will be in the place that he was created for, forever. So,
If he chooses to go with him, other than making sure he doesn't fall, how can I keep him safe so that doesn't happen?
well, as established, and I feel like I have to go on and on with this, our method of dealing with the danger and harshness of the outside world is creating this lovely, safe bubble pocket where that cannot intrude. So, as for how to keep him safe out there, I would say the best way for him out there to be safe is for him to come in here and stay. That
Okay.
goes for the rest of you too, frankly.
Do gray renders? I mean, this is the first time we've ever encountered one, so we don't really know that much about them. Do they have like familial relationships? Does he have a family that he had a bond with, or like parents who were
Not as
distraught?
such.
That
Not as such. Now, Gray Renders, this is not probably a method you would be overly familiar with mortals. I'm always having to, I'm trying not to dumb this down. He kind of just, he kind of just, imagine that a bigger Gray Render gets kind of a pimple. And the pimple gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it falls off and becomes another Grey Render. Now, the Grey Renders
Okay.
get along, but they're not family as such.
Is that something that's likely to happen to Buster? Does he have those things that are growing?
Oh, very well. I mean, he has a ways to grow yet. Still, I would think, but certainly that could occur, and you would have yet another Grey Render to be responsible for.
I mean, I respect that you want to give him that choice, Sinhorn. I really do. And I'm not going to stand in your way, but I personally think that he is better off here. Because if he is going to continue to grow and grow, how are we going to feed him?
I can create
Let
food and
alone
water.
another one.
Yeah, but we
Yeah,
can only
another one
create
would
so much
definitely be
food
a
and
problem.
water.
Yeah. We have Rushama on our side.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I don't know. The Mistress of the Dark seems to think that, he needs to be here. That was the impression that I got, that we needed to find a way to reconnect him to his home.
And could it not also be possible that it was Rushama's guidance that brought us here? So that we could save this creature.
that is also possible. I would have to meditate on that as well. Um, but I find it hard to part with him, especially when I'm so close to someone who might actually be able to give me a care manual for taking care of a Grey Render.
Well, we could talk, perhaps, about that. However, once again, I would say probably step one in such a Grey Render care manual would be, when at all possible, keep him safe from harm by maintaining his presence within a pocket dimension that is protected from suffering.
Yeah, but again, if he chooses to go and if we decide that we want him with us, and everyone knows my vote, um, then being able to care for him in the outside world until such time as he decides to come back here, um, or we decide that it's best for him to come back here. Um,
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? If we leave, there's no guarantee we can come back.
Yep.
that's true.
So,
I mean, he
I-
seemed like he just wanted to come back here, and like the only way to calm him was to sing that song for him. And I don't know. I mean, if you can find a way to present him with that choice and he can make his own decision, I guess we go from there.
just a brief meta insert, just table talk just for a moment. I want to be clear. I'm not trying to force you into making any sort of decision. I'm just presenting a dilemma.
I know.
So I know I'm telling everybody. I want you to not feel like I'm trying to make you do something. So either specific thing, but yes. So here's the thing. It seems to me, based on my interpretation of your questions and the direction of the conversation and all, is that if you attempted to stay here, you would feel, oh no, we had duties or responsibilities or some such, and you're not ready to lay down that burden, and you do plan to leave. I do see that we could make available to you information that might aid you in that quest. But let me reiterate, that is contingent on you agreeing to not disrupt our operations here.
We both said already, I have no problem with what you're doing here, as long as the people, are here of their own volition. My only concern is that we've encountered pocket dimensions that have seen the type of damage that ejected Buster from this place. And several of these storms are likely to continue. What happens if you sustain the kind of damage that can't be repaired and the suffering gets into this place?
It is not something I'm overly concerned about. We've been operating for quite a while, and if this corruption you're talking about is indeed associated with the Dinetherian magic, then perhaps I should just put you in touch with Celta. He's currently on one of our, forest rave layers, and he was somewhat instrumental in sealing away Dinether in the first place. I'm sure that he could set your mind at ease.
That would be wonderful.
That
It
would be
actually would be
fantastic.
very helpful.
Also, I'm not sure how this particular plane works. Planar mechanics is not something I've extensively studied yet. I only know the basics and some of the probable models, but I have a crude spell that might be able to return Buster if he chose to return. I can't really target it as such, but I can banish someone from the plane I'm in to their home plane if you would allow him to return that way.
Oh, well,
If it can-
certainly, yes, I'm familiar with that spell. If you were to cast that spell on him at any other location, he would in fact return here.
So there is a chance if he is in danger or wounded or fading or homesick, we could return him. If he wants to come in the first place, of course.
And you say that time is moving normally right now? That
Well-
once we leave here, we will not have lost any
Let
of
me
the
put it this
time
way.
except for the time we spent.
Are you having a great time right now?
Well, it's okay. I
Well,
mean,
so
I'm not like
it's
thrilled.
kind of normal then? Then
Yeah,
I would
it's
suggest
just a
that the
day.
passage of time is going to be okay and normal.
All right. Hopefully, our friend is still outside.
Sorry. One more question. When we leave here, where exactly would we be leaving to? Like, would it put us back out where we came in, or can you choose that?
Where would you want to be?
The prime material plane.
I guess.
Well, we do need to go back out and return the amulets.
But if we came back in, could we be returned to the prime material plane from
Well,
here?
So, once you're out, we don't give you a little wristband or something.
Okay.
However, if you wish to travel to the material plane rather than the elemental plane where we found you, that could be arranged.
I mean, maybe we could find a way to send the ambulance back here.
Oh, you mentioned your friend, by the way. Do you mean the Azer that was out there with you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's
Mm,
very
yes.
much joined the rave.
Oh dear.
Oh, that's so good.
Well, as long as he's happy.
He is.
I mean, but the amulets don't belong to him either. They belong to his mistress, a big red dragon.
I mean, we did give our word.
Yeah, we said we would return them. But I mean, if he's in here, then what are the chances that he's going to finish
Well,
out?
it's up to you, but that is very much something we call an OP, or outside problem.
Nedry, does your banishment
In-
thingy work on objects? Like, could we banish the
No, it's only for
Amulets?
creatures.
Hmm.
I think it has something to do with the inherent nature of a particular plane and the creation of a particular individual. And a sentient creature has a sort of mental connection to it. It's only a working theory.
Also, unless you mortals have made some incredible advancements in banishing arcana, you also don't get to choose the location in the plane that it arrives in.
It it's basically, from what I understand, if it's not from the plane you're in, then it goes home.
Yes, but home in an
Is
infinite
relative.
plane
Their
like the
home.
elemental plane of fire doesn't
Right.
mean a block from their front door.
Well, in this particular case, I assume that
Well,
your
here
own
is
diligence would
different
find
because
Buster.
we're a bit smaller compared to the larger planes, and we maintain an awareness of those who cross our borders, so to speak. So that's a bit different. Sending Buster home is different. What I'm suggesting is that even if you were to able to banish these amulets, they would arrive at a random location in the elemental plane of fire.
Oh yeah, that would be terrible.
Do they
Well-
have an interplanar post?
Yeah, they might.
Yes, actually.
Or yeah. So there you go. We
I
could
mean,
just send it.
it's not straightforward. It would be more a matter of, in the same way that you were hoping in the city of Brass to find like a portal home, it would be kind of that same sort of an arrangement. You would need to go somewhere with access to the elemental plane of fire and make an arrangement with someone, essentially.
Hire a courier.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
probably have those in Emerald Arboris. I'm sure those people go all over the place.
Yeah.
Get the tree right there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
maybe
yes.
that's
Well, you
even-
know, in fact, actually, if you're interested, one of the places that we touch the material plane is, in fact, the garden that was created as part of Emerald Boris during all that busyness about 100 years ago.
Oh.
Actually, there is a
you
particular
guys just see
place that we should
Carolina
go.
like she gets the anime sparkly eyes.
There is a place that we should go, if you have any area near Emersham.
Well, I
Okay, but we
suppose
could just walk
See,
there.
the thing is that we are kind of everywhere and nowhere. We can work it out, is the point. So long as it's understood that, you know, we're not a delivery service. We're not a taxi.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a shame, actually. That was one of my hypothetical bargains, but I understand.
Bargains.
Well, I don't know if there's anything you need here, but if there were, then maybe delivery would be in return for whatever we could do as service.
Well,
Your plane is fascinating and largely breaks most of the rules that I've learned so far, which is intriguing in its own right. But as a potential gateway to other places, it presents a rather enticing opportunity.
Ooh.
Travel has been very difficult, and it's been a lot of walking that I don't want to do again.
yes. Well, as mentioned, this is a case of, in order to resolve the complication that you have given us, we are willing to drop you off somewhere. It does not mean that that is what we do now.
I understand. It was only a passing fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
I have a lot of those.
Where do we want to go? Emerald
Well-
Arboris?
I think if what do we want to do before we leave?
Well, we should speak with this person that Putreska mentioned that was involved with sealing away
yes,
Dinfair.
Celta.
Celta.
Yes.
Nah,
and then
I imagine that we could also arrange for you to speak to your parents again, Zinhorn. However, with both this conversation with Celta and with your parents, I'm afraid we do have to ask that you not make them feel bad. If you do, we will be forced to object you promptly.
I can do that.
I don't
can
think we
control
want to
myself.
upset anyone.
Now
Is
that
there
I
a place?
understand more.
Is
I-
there a
I'm-
place that we could speak with them that's a bit more private, so that we don't disturb any of the other guests?
Oh, of course. After all, the Eternal Waltz is nothing if not able to cater to the whims and desires of our guests. Are you sure you really all want to leave? It just seems so inexplicable to me. I mean, do you enjoy the suffering? I know that there are some that do.
I sort of have a vow I have to uphold.
It's another outside problem, if you ask me.
I don't know. I mean, she could just reach right in here and grab me anytime she wanted to, I'm sure.
Balance in all things is what I say. One cannot know joy if one does not know suffering.
All right. Well, so
That's
if I were
poetic and all,
to
but no.
hit your hand with a hammer and then hand you a gold bar, you feel that that would be appropriate behavior?
Sure.
As
I like
opposed
gold
Depends on
bars.
how
to...
badly I needed the gold bar, but
Well, but what we offer here is the gold bar without hitting you with a hammer, is my point. And yet, what you seem to all be signing up for is getting hit with a hammer and no gold bar.
well, it's more about making what's out there less
Rusty.
making
Oh,
making it so
altruism.
people suffer.
Yeah,
less.
no, I
Yes.
understand. Altruism, that's also what we do here. It's just a case of we control the part that we can. And,
Yeah, we're in the same business.
all right,
We impose ourselves between suffering and innocent people.
And not everyone can come here. So we kind of have to go out there to make some places a little better. So there's a little less suffering, fewer people that wish they could come here because they can't all come here. I mean, that's what he said.
fair
And
enough.
we are not immortal, like you, or at least as you claim. I'm
Well, if
taking
we
your
were
word here.
here, I don't
Um,
think it would matter.
I
But,
mean, give it time, but
But we're not immortal.
Yeah.
We can't make these big pocket dimensions, but we can stand between those who would want to cause suffering and those who don't deserve it.
So, once again, it seems a little bit like if you have a small child who wants to help you build a house, and so you give them a little toy hammer to, thunk onto a piece of wood and perhaps a nail. Uh, I suppose that's fine. I so it is perhaps a noble intent, but impractical. But I will not keep you from it if you are determined.
I think we are.
not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss your library. That's gonna be something that's gonna be a memory for a long time.
Well, you know what? You don't have to miss it, but
But I can't take it with me.
well, so this is again, I find myself reiterating the same point once again, but it seems sort of a mortal peculiarity to complain about the results of your own decisions.
Well, Nedry kind of didn't decide. We decided for him. So we're making you suffer, Nedry. I'm so sorry.
I'll make you pay later.
Okay.
So Pietraszka leans way in over to you, Nedry, and says, "You don't have to go."
I know. And that's kind of comforting, really. But they'll never survive without me. I mean, they're going to need a whole lot of things explained really, really simply if I'm not there. And that's just going to slow everything down.
All right. As mentioned, nobody is a prisoner here. However, you are guests on probation. I can arrange some of the conversations we spoke to. You will be returned to the on-stage version of our little location. The host will guide you. But I will remind you, you caused disruptions or cause our guests to experience negative feelings, give them any sort of indication that they should not be here, we will be forced to expel you.
Does she have hair?
Yeah, she has like long, stringy, sort of greasy hair that sort of hangs in front of her eyes.
Are there any like loose pieces of her hair, like I don't know, on her shirt or anything like that?
She like leans down and kind of head cocked to you, and like all this hair is just greasy. It's like, I see you admiring my hair.
Miss, it's quite beautiful.
No, it isn't.
No, it really is. Like there's beauty in everything.
All right, mortals.
There is. Are there any pieces of her hair just like loose that maybe like drifted away when she was near me?
She just grabs like a hank of it and literally just goes thunk and hands it to you. It's got like a little chunk of scalp on it.
Nice. Thank you. I have not going to say anything right now. I'm not even going to think about what I'm going to do with it, but I have plans, Nedry.
Actually, there's sort of a combination of revulsion and admiration in the collection of esoteric magical beings parts.
So, are we then at an accord?
One last thing to work out. See my parents, see the guy who helped lock away the Denetherians, and then before we leave, see Buster.
Very well, yes. That is the arrangement.
And then
Is that
we'll have
agreeable
to
with
talk
everyone
amongst
else?
us. We'll have to talk amongst ourselves about where we want to leave to. But I think that's it.
Okay. Well, yeah, why don't we go back to the party and decide that, and then I'll go say goodbye to my parents.
Very well.
So are you going to go say goodbye to your parents while we talk to this other person?
While you're starting to have that conversation, suddenly all of you, like your stomach kind of lurches as it feels like a whole 20-foot circular section of the floor that you're sort of standing on here just seems to like suddenly flip like a manhole cover or a coin or something, and now all of you are standing in what looks kind of like a museum filled with beautiful sculptures and paintings and stuff like that, and various people looking around at stuff.
I know you're eager to see your parents, but you are going to introduce us, right?
Yes, that would be fantastic. I would love to do that. I did mention you the last time I saw them, which only a few minutes ago, but let me just say I can't believe we got out of there without fighting. And does anyone think Wuta's going to be back?
Well, I
Well,
mean,
maybe. But I would
You-
like to point out that being polite does go a long way.
I'm trying to learn from you, Carolina. I really am. Because my first instinct really was to lead with the lightning.
well, I mean, it's kind of a lesson to think about for the future, you know? I mean, you had that encounter with her gross, ugly hands in the past, but it wasn't even really a bad encounter. You know, you shocked her for no reason. She would have pulled you right back to where you needed to be. But because
She was
she was
trying to
ugly,
kidnap kids. I'm always going to get in the way of that. And yes, it's kidnapping. And I understand that more in depth now, but given the information I had at the time, I'm always going to put myself in between. I'm going to interpose myself between anything like that and innocent children.
I know, but it's kind of a lesson, you know? Think about it in those terms. Think about it in terms of Buster. If you did not know Buster when he was only this big and you ran into him now, what would your first instinct be?
Uh,
Honestly, like
It's
sever
like I've
your
always
feelings.
said,
Honestly,
appearances
yeah, well,
are not necessarily always like correct with the first impression. Just because, somebody looks a certain way doesn't mean they're, whatever.
I mean, if I encounter Buster without realizing he's there, I still have that instinct. But it gets
yeah,
over it,
well,
I
I
guess.
did see two other gray renders that were much bigger than Buster, and
That's frightening.
yeah, still frightening.
Yeah.
Honestly, if Buster wasn't as friendly, if he hadn't been as gentle with the kids, um, I would have been looking to get him out of town so that we could fight him someplace where people wouldn't get hurt. But things worked out way better. I mean, it was like the power of music was really kind of cool.
Master Finster calls that the power of ignorance, but I'll take your explanation for it for now.
So we're gonna talk to Selpa.
Well,
your
we're
parents
going to
first.
decide where we want to get dropped off first.
Oh, that too. I wonder if we'll meet the rest of them. I wonder if they still exist. I can't believe we're about to meet another one, too. Oh, I suppose that might not be a good thing. Should we mention Rupino? And
I mean, maybe we could ask about
Cardinal?
Rupino. We don't have to say that he's in my pocket, but
So
Yeah.
this is the druid, right?
according to the story,
Right.
Yeah, we got two of his dead friends.
Well,
Or
I think we
one's
should
on
speak
ice.
with this person before we make a decision on where we need to go next.
yeah, because I mean, we might get some insight. So
I agree.
Zinhorn's parents and then Selpa.
If I could have everyone here make a perception check.
Possibly. That is not a strong suit.
10.
18.
24.
He's right behind us, isn't he?
Zaleen, it belatedly occurs to you that this museum sort of setting that you've appeared in, you're actually standing in front of what appears to be like sort of an exhibit map. But as you sort of do a double take looking at it, you can see that not only is there a little button on a stand by it that says press for if you have questions, but you can see that on this exhibit map are certain sort of hallways that seem to be, one says to the forest rave, one says to Zinhorn's parents, one says to the Grey Render pens.
Well, I mean, where do you guys want to go? We can go. Here's the map. It tells us which way. So Zinhorn's parents.
Or do you want to save your goodbyes for last?
I think I kind of want to get him out of the way first.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be hard enough, but seeing the other guy, but if in between saying goodbye to them and maybe having to say goodbye to Buster, just gives me a little bit of recovery time. I never got to say goodbye to them the first time, but yeah, goodbyes have never been easy.
Well, just remember, don't make them feel guilty.
I won't. Now that I know it's not their fault. And in all honesty, whoever cursed me, assuming that's the truth, I mean, that was 80 years ago. There's a really good chance they're already dead. So that's water under the bridge, and I'm not going to let that person or whatever have any mind share with me unless they show up later, at which point I will likely react violently to them.
Well, you know,
But
there's always creatures that they have very long lifespans. I mean, elves and dwarves,
elves,
and I mean,
I
look at who
know,
lives here.
but they're a small percentage of the population comparatively. So
Although
I'm just gonna
powerful
let.
enough, magic does suggest a longer lived creature.
Thank you, Nedry. I needed that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Let's go say goodbye to my parents. Well,
All right.
it'll be for you guys. It'll be hello.
All right, then. Let's follow this map to your parents.
We're off to see the wizard.
So here's a question, Zinhorn. When you imagine the location where you would want to have this conversation, what do you imagine? Or for that matter, Zinhorn. You know, I'm asking Zinhorn essentially as opposed to Paul. Although, you know, it could be either way.
It's a Denny's on that after the
Actually,
But it's the
I'm-
good it's the good Denny's, you know, not the one that's
Not
not.
the really skanky one, yeah. No, but there's a restaurant, Bashan, not too far away from the orphanage where Zinhorn liked to go. You know, a nice place, kind of quiet, and you know they've got like bottles on the table wrapped in straw with candles sticking out of them, and they have noodles and meat and sauce and all sorts of good things. And you know, it's the kind of place that people would go to celebrate their birthday, because like who in an orphanage really knows when their birthday is. So but yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of like a slightly upscale Olive Garden. Um, you know, that kind of a place. That's Zinhorn's idea of fancy and a place that he would love to take his parents.
Yeah. Well, so I think that as you pass through this sort of museum hallway, it sort of just gradually becomes the sort of you know this is it's not this is like you said, it's a slightly fancier version, so it's not the kind with like all sorts of just weird objects on the walls and stuff, right? Like it's not a Chili's, it's, you know, it's nice, right? It's so like it has like a little fountain and some sort of like little bits of ivy and some like columns and so on, but it's also a restaurant. And I think as you sort of emerge into the dining room, you see actually that there is a big table over in the corner with booths that you see your parents both sitting over there already, and they're looking around a little bit like, oh, but they wave to you.
Mom, Dad, this is Zaylene, Carolina, and Nedry.
They kind of awkwardly like half stand, but they're, you know, like at the booth, you know, in the table, so they're kind of just like leaning over to shake your hand. Hey Zinhorn, this place has got free breadsticks.
Ah, awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you know, don't eat too much because they got others. Well, you know what? You can eat whatever you want here. What am I thinking? It's just like, you know, it's fun to like to plan your meal strategically, though.
Yep.
So
Definitely save room for the good stuff.
So these are the friends you came in with?
These are the friends that I came in with. These are my friends. We adventure together. We've picked up your work now that you've put it down, and we make lives safer for people, and we reduce suffering outside. And you know, I've learned a lot more since the last time I talked to you, which has only been a few minutes for me. But like, if you're here, I guess you need to rest.
They
So-
kind of look to each other, and your mom is Zinhorn. I hope you can understand that this still feels very strange to us, because we believe you what you're saying about how much time has passed for you or outside, but it's a little bit surprising for us to see you all grown up. And I can't help but think how other parents told me that it happens faster than you think, and yet here we are, and I was not prepared for how fast it happened. I, you've certainly grown up into a handsome dragonborn. And your father's like, yeah, and what, you said cleric of Rishama? I mean, that's, you know, that was kind of a big deal when we came in here, right? I mean, that's, you know, Rishama was, you know, instrumental in the whole, you know, the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, is it working for you? I mean, you feel good about, like, does that make you happy?
It does. Helping people uh, has made me very happy, and uh, I kind of feeling maybe a need to change the way that I help people now that I'm um out of the orphanage and helping more people. But yeah, I'm happy, and
Well,
I even learned to fly on my own. Well, Nedry helped me, but
you know, I tell you, that was something that I kind of thought we might do in here, but I'm glad you worked it out. Like that's, I, so, uh, Zinhorn, like I hope you understand. You know, I mean, we brought you here because we wanted you to be happy, and it's still kind of hard to understand exactly what happened. And you know,
so
it didn't go the way we would have expected, but it sounds like, I mean, if you,
I mean, it was tough. It really was, but I am happy. And since we talked, someone has said that I may have actually been cursed before I came in here, and that's why we were separated, and that it wasn't anything that you did or that I did.
well,
And
they're looking at each other and kind of like making eye contact about that. It's like, I just like, I wish that it was something we could have known about bef- before it happened. I mean, the thing, and you can sense like the mood dropping a little bit, right? You know, so they're definitely, you know, getting worked up. This is a more serious conversation, but say like, I mean, like Zinhorn, like it seems like maybe you understand a bit more now, but I mean, what I hope you understand is that, you know, we did a lot, but what we saw out there was a lot of things seeming to go in the wrong direction, so to speak. And what we wanted for you was to not have to go through all that. And it doesn't look like it worked out that way. So obviously, that's not how we wanted it to happen. But I, you sure we can't convince you to just stay in here with us? I mean, it seems like that's,
I'm not a little kid anymore.
well,
I'm my own man, and I have my own responsibilities, and I may reach the same point that you reached, and I would be lucky to get an invitation to come back here, or to accidentally find this place again, like I did today. But um, for right now, where I need to be, where Rushama is telling me I need to be, is outside. And so I came to say goodbye to you and to introduce you to my friends. So, at the very least, I'm not alone in the world. And we've all gotten pretty powerful. We're a force to be reckoned with. And there's even some of our friends who didn't make it with us on this part of our journey that may, one day rejoin us. But you know, we have a habit of making new friends along the road, and I'll be out there taking up the fight.
So, Zinhorn, you kind of feel like a packet slipped into your hand, and you will find it is a small stack of business cards with your name on it.
And we even have business cards, and I will hand them each a business card.
So they look at it and they're just so it's a strange feeling, because on the one hand, none of this really turned out the way we were hoping. But that said, looking at you now, it's hard not to be really proud of how you turned out. I mean, maybe it's not fair for us to be proud. We weren't the ones who did it. It was you. But
Well, if it means anything, I think Zinhorn had an excellent early example.
And after all, I am pieces of the two of you.
your mom nods and just says, I I wish we could have been there. I wish that this didn't all happen the way that it did, but at the same time, I feel like even if the route we all took to get here is not the one we would have chosen, I think that nonetheless, the place we are now seems hard to argue with. We're in a place where we can let down the burdens that were hurting us out there. But you have grown up into a fine man, and if this is your choice to go out there and try to help others, then I hope it makes you happy, because that's really all we wanted.
It is my choice, and I'm happy with it. And I understand that it's not going to be an easy road, but I think the journey is worth taking.
Besides, he's got another dragon brother that'll help him along.
Oh yeah, Nedry can like shoot dragon breath when he wants to.
Your mom says, "Hold on just a second," and she kind of looks like she's concentrating on something for a moment. Then she just reaches over to the booth next to her and lifts up the seat like it's just a compartment there. And reaching out of there, she pulls up her shield. You remember her shield that she always had with her. You knew vaguely that it was a magic shield of some kind, but she says, "Certainly, you'll need it more than we do in here."
I will treasure it always. Thank you, Mom.
It is a shield. It's emblazoned with like the symbol of an eye on it, and it is a sentinel shield.
Sentinel shield.
Yeah. It always helped me to, spot the little details and to be ready at a moment's notice.
You know, it served you well, and I'm sure it will serve me well. Thank you. The eye, is that your symbol?
What? No, I mean, between you and me, we loaded the shield off a dead guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because like I was going to start putting eyes on my armor and everything else because I thought that was your symbol. So
Well,
like
I mean,
that would
it's
be
kind,
kind of awkward.
I kind of just ran with it, right? Like it was a good shield, so I used it, and like it's obviously an eye on there, so you kind of like you own it, you just take it on.
But
But like, yeah, I mean,
do we have like a family crest or a symbol or something?
uh, your dad is just like, I mean, Zinhorn, we were like, we're a couple of adventurer, vagabonds that got together. I mean, we don't have a royal line or anything.
There are a couple of crazy kids in Horn.
Not even business cards?
Yeah. Now, I
I
mean,
gotta ask,
well,
but
okay, sure, but
I will treasure it always, and I'll see if I can find somebody to make us our own coat of arms, and if we ever see each other again, then I'll make sure to pass that on to you. Because even vagabond adventurers, they need to strut a little bit. And this is a really cool looking shield.
so I guess it's kind of hard to think about. Not used to thinking about the stuff from before, but since you're going back, I don't know how much of this is still like relevant. Um, but I mean, if you're trying to figure out who cursed you, I mean, I'd start with the Reclaimers.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
The
yeah,
Reclaimers
that-
were wiped out.
Yeah.
They look at each other and they're like, well, I mean, we're trying not to just laugh and say good, but,
Yeah,
It really
that
didn't end well for them.
No.
there's
Anyone in
something,
particular?
There's something dark in there.
Oh yeah. We found some darkness in there.
Oh,
We
Zinhorn.
wound up inheriting the Reclaimers Academy, and we went
Zinhorn.
through and we cleaned out a bunch of nightmares and stuff.
Sideways,
What?
Zinhorn, we
sideways
had
eyes to
him.
Zaleen.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's Tanglefoot. Yeah, I figured that out already. We had him, and you guys didn't let me kill him. In hindsight, now you were talking about lessons earlier. My desire to kill him seems
Well, Zindra's
justified
like,
in
okay, well,
hindsight.
so I'm lost again. We were just like we had some interactions with the Reclaimers, and it seemed like it was going really bad places, and then we were feeling like we're not allowed to leave, and so that's kind of part of what made us.
You guys
think
were
we
part of the Reclaimers for a
Oh
while?
no. Well, it's more
Oh,
like
okay.
it's more like we were freelance because they were trying to they were doing a lot beyond their original scope, so to speak.
Yeah,
and
they were.
Yeah,
they were
one of the
they were hiring a
Denetherians-
lot of adventurers for various jobs, and a lot of people went missing, and it seemed real bad. And honestly, it really felt like they had the full support of the Emperor in doing that, and it was. And you see, it's the mood's starting to get heavier again.
Yeah,
You-
let's just leave it as this. Like, yeah, they got wiped out.
Do
They-
I look
they got-
familiar to either of you?
They kind of look at you like, no.
Okay.
Nedry makes a note in his book.
That's very interesting because I actually owned the Reclaimers Academy for a little while there. Um,
That's bizarre.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, I'm frankly relieved that you say for a little while, like you don't still, because
no, it's being cleansed and it's being turned into another orphanage.
I want to just briefly do a meta note for anyone listening to the audio only, that you missed the facial expression that I made there, just in the sense of when it was not just a generic trailing off. It was like, relieved that you don't own it still because, ooh, grimace,
Yeah.
as opposed to just not sure what to say next. But yeah, so it seems like being out there has given you, I don't know if it's Rushama working through you or what, but it's given you a sense of purpose that we didn't feel anymore when we decided we wanted to come here. We felt like we weren't making a difference. But if you still feel like you can, then you should.
No, thank you. I I, I think we can make a difference, and I only wish we had more time together. But you know, we need to to finish up the meal and get move on with what we're doing.
Your dad kind of says, "Well, I hope it helps Zinhorn to know that you don't need to worry about us. I don't know if you were, like, I don't want to presume how you felt about it, but we're okay."
I thought I was coming to rescue you. I thought there was something really awful behind this place, and there isn't. And you don't need rescuing. I really thought that this was a horrible place, that it was disguising what it was to you, and it's not. It's a pretty good place. I don't agree with all of what they do, but you know, you guys are happy here, um, and you're enjoying yourself, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I just hope that I'm lucky enough to one day come back and spend more time with you. I mean, I wish I could drop in from time to time, um, but they don't really allow that. So it's gonna, like, if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And you know, your little boy's all
Uh,
grown up and taking
your
care of himself.
your mom kind of squeezes your hand and says, "I'm sure it will."
All right. So I think it's time for us to get going.
And
As we're leaving,
it's like
I'm
they
just
haven't
gonna
even
be
brought out
like,
the shrimp scampi yet. You've
Well,
not stayed
then
to
we
eat.
should finish our dinner first.
And you discover that the waiters were basically just out of sight, waiting for you to finish having the deep conversation, so that they wouldn't interrupt it, because this is the perfect restaurant, so the waiters aren't interrupting your deep conversation with the food. But it's ready as soon as you are. Isn't that cool?
That is pretty cool.
What did
This is
everybody
why we
order?
play role playing games, to experience such perfection as this.
Yeah. So what did everybody order here at the Fantasy Olive Garden?
I got this weird round disc that has like tomato on it, and then it has like cheese and stuff. It's like I've never seen or heard of anything like this before, but it's pretty amazing.
I'm getting a thing called a Megillah, where they take a sausage and they wrap it in pasta, and then they wrap that in a big old layer of cheese, and then they bread it, and then they fry it, and it comes out all gooey, and there's pasta and sauce and sausage in the middle of it.
I still don't 100% trust this place, so I'm good. I'm not eating anything.
Nedry decides to limit himself to only 12 things he's never had before.
So I think one thing that you find here is that you are able to sort of eat some and then feel like satisfied, but you can also just kind of keep eating and you don't ever get to a point where you feel like, oh, I ate too much. Ugh. You just sort of like, you can eat as much as you feel like you want to, and it feels great.
I'm just like, here, Nedry, eat a piece of this. I don't know what it is. It's a piece of pizza. It's pizza. Here, Nedry, eat this pizza.
It's a strange name for something.
It's a piece of the pizza.
So, Carolina, you find that at some point when you weren't looking, someone put a little slip of paper that you can see just kind of sticking out from under your plate. You didn't see when it got there, but it's there.
They gave Carolina the bill.
There's, it's a party of 6 or more, so there's an automatic tip and
Well, I'll take a look at it, see what it says.
Okay. What it says is, it has very fancy, fine handwriting, and it says, I do not wish to interrupt the planned agenda for your group, but as I understand that you intend to leave us, I would like to speak with you particularly on the subject of music. And it signed the host.
I am intrigued. And I think I would like to take him up on that offer.
Oh, how do you do that? You just have a piece of paper.
I'm going to excuse myself to go use the restroom.
Okay.
If you will excuse me for one moment.
You do that,
I'll enjoy
and-
your
Yeah,
food.
so, and this is definitely a sort of place where I think you all kind of realize, not that we usually focus on this stuff, that you haven't had to use the restroom or anything like that. Like, there's certainly no problem with getting up from the table for a moment, because sometimes you would want to do that, but you also, like, don't need to. And, you
Powder
haven't
my
been
nose
tired.
and all that.
Yeah, yeah. So in any case, though, everyone else, do you react to Carolina wanting to step away a little bit, or?
What a strange thing to want to do.
I can't believe she didn't eat any of this pizza.
Can I try a bite of that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it seems like they're not worried about you, Carolina. So as you kind of you just go up to like the. So where do you go? Do you just go up to like the reception or like?
Yeah, probably to like the host station. And
And
and,
sure enough,
so-
as you kind of come around a pillar to the host station, guess who's standing there behind the little podium?
the host.
Yes, indeed.
be my
And,
guess.
and he bows to you and says, "Welcome back on stage, Carolina. I'm informed that all of you have chosen that you are going to leave us.
Yes, we do have some more responsibilities we wanted to see to.
I understand, and this, of course, is your prerogative. I do hope that you will leave with fond memories."
Well, it is much more pleasant than a lot of the places we've been recently.
In the interest of providing you with some memories, there are songs that I know that I would teach you if you are interested.
I am always interested in learning new songs.
At the heart of the magic that creates this place is music. Did you realize that?
Of course, it would be very difficult to miss. I spent some time trying to pinpoint it, but I think I would have to study it for much, much longer before I could get the full range of the piece that seems to be constantly playing, but always a little different. It's very fascinating.
If you will, come with me. And he kind of walks off to what might be the front door, but as you follow, you find yourself uh, entering what is kind of like it's a wood paneled sort of classroom that has a whole bunch of different instruments laid out on stands, and it's just kind of a private little space. And he says, I have some songs that I could play for you. And as you mention, the complexity deep within the magic of these songs is enough that you will probably not be able to fully perceive them the first time. But as you play them, as you repeat, you will find the depth within it over time. Does this interest you?
Oh, very much so, yes.
And so first he moves to a strange sort of device that you don't fully like understand all the meanings of, but it has a lot of strange little mechanical like switches and sliders and stuff. And he says, it is somewhat ironic that you all arrived in the Cinder Wastes iteration, because at that time one of these songs was playing. And he starts generating with this strange little device that dance music that was playing at the festival. And as he's playing it here for you now, you recognize and start to perceive like the magic in it. So I'd like you to make an Arcana check, or no, a performance check. Either way, whichever one is better for you.
Yeah. Performance check
Okay,
is way
yeah.
better.
Yeah. So he's inviting you to try to essentially try to join in with the music, try to play along.
Well, that would be a 27.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. So what you start to recognize in this music that just very much just fills you with this desire to just dance and be in the moment and just really enjoy just the physical motion to the music and all of that. And then you realize that this is a song that in the future, if you play it, while you are playing it, any allied creature who spends an action dancing to the song can clear any condition which may be affecting them, including blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, poisoned. And they gain advantage on any saving throws to resist those conditions for the next 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. At which point they gain a level of exhaustion. Because they're dancing. It's magic dancing. And so, and that one is called "Dance Your Heart Out." I'll send you the text for these. But what you
Okay.
so here I'll send you the text proper for mechanical. But basically, you understand that this is a song where if you play it for people and they dance to it, it lets them set aside outside things that had been troubling them for a moment and leave that behind to enjoy the music. And then this is a song that would have perhaps become more useful were you returning to the elemental plane of fire, but this and he goes over and he pulls just like a violin, and he starts singing and playing a song, the lyrics of which are talking about the story of a woman who, in order to prove her virtue and purity, demonstrated by throwing herself onto a bonfire, and it could not burn her because she was, essentially so pure that the influences of the world could not soil her. And as you're listening to this song and trying to accompany, you realize that this is a song that, while you are playing it, you and all chosen allies of the player are immune to fire damage, provided that you are good aligned. Meaning, like, an evil character would not be able to benefit from it. And then he teaches you one more song that he says, now, this is a song you will find some contradiction in, but do not be afraid of that. It is its power. And he starts playing. He pulls out like a cello, and he's playing. And he plays incredibly, as you might imagine. And the deep resonance of the cello, and he's singing. It's a very slow, sort of calm, like almost a lullaby, but at the same time with almost kind of a sense of menace to it. Like, it's one thing for a mother to desire their baby to go to sleep, but imagine it almost like there's a fear there. Like something bad will happen if they don't. Not like a threat, but a fear, right? And you realize eventually that the lyrics seem to be referring to a demon lord, and that this is a lullaby that is intended to convince a demon lord to remain in slumber.
Wow.
A demon lord named Mothalost. Yeah.
I know that name.
But you realize that this song, it's honestly not a soothing song for you to listen to. Like, it feels concerning. Like, it almost sort of influences you to share that concern that, like, it's like, please go to sleep because something terrible will happen to all of us if you don't, sort of mood, right? But if anyone who listens to it for 5 minutes prior to beginning a long rest, that creature will automatically succeed on a saving throw to resist nightmare corruption at the end of a long rest. However, that creature will be plagued with strange dreams that night and will only recover half of the normal hit dice. And he says, I think those will help you. And as you study them, as you play them, you will gain new understanding of the magic and the music in this place. But as you played, I sensed within you a song that's meaningful but incomplete. I know that you are interested in the stories of Dinuther. Do you wish to learn the remaining verses of A Tear at Dawn?
You have them all?
I do.
Yes, absolutely. There could be no greater gift.
And what he does, I'm not going to sing them now. What I'm going to say is essentially he says, what he does is he sort of takes your hand, and you feel sort of pressed into your hand is something almost like a bead. But he presses it into your palm, and it seems to just sort of absorb into your palm, and says, this may be difficult to understand, but you will know them when you are ready to sing them. And that time is not yet. But when you need to know, you will.
Thank you.
So, in the meantime, back at the table, everyone's eating. Carolina's been gone for a while.
Yeah, but we're having fun, so we don't notice.
I notice. So I'm gonna excuse myself and get up to go use the bathroom and see if
Okay.
I can find her.
No, I mean, you don't see her in any of the little areas. I mean, although I think at a certain point, as you are looking, um, you will smell a little bit of a breeze of a floral scent, and then a familiar little fairy dragon will appear before you and just say, "Hello, Zaline. Are you looking for
Hi.
your friend?
Yeah.
She's with the host right now. She's just doing fine as anything. She's learning songs."
Oh, okay. As long as she's okay.
She is, and I'm sure that she'll rejoin you as soon as you're ready to move on to your next uh, place that you want to be. But I believe you had other conversations you wanted to have, yes?
Yeah.
Well, you just go ahead and ring the bell on your table when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think if you return to the table, you see that there's a bell, one of those little ding for service bells on the table now.
I will tell everybody like Carolina is with the host. Um, she's, I guess, doing something with music. But when we're ready, we can go. Just got to push this button here.
Well, if we're not in a hurry, I could always pop over to the library for a little while, check a few references.
I mean, you could. But when it's
Yeah,
time
we
to
still
go,
have to divvy up the bill.
when it's time to go, Nedry, you have to go. Like you can't fight
I
and
know, I
like
know.
kick and scream. And I mean, what if Nedry and I go to the library for a little bit, and Zinhorn, you can spend some more quality time with your family, and then when you're ready, you can just meet with us at the library.
Or I guess ring the bell.
Yeah. Does that sound good to you?
So, I think that as you're having that conversation, I think Zinhorn, you feel a little bit of just like like a little bit of a tickle of inspiration that just sort of you recognize as like something from outside yourself reminds you that what Putresca said is that the time dilation and everything, the way that that all works is it's basically tied to, enjoyment of the what the party has to offer. And so it would potentially be possible that the longer you just kind of hang out as opposed to doing the stuff you're trying to do, the more you're likely to advance the clock outside.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess, being the way that time works in here, I think we need to all move forward. And I guess Carolina can catch up with us.
Okay. Sorry, Nedry.
It's worth a shot.
Push the
I
button.
guess that means we're going then.
Yep.
Uh,
It was nice meeting you. I don't actually know your names, but
uh,
you're Windborns, as much I
Carthorn,
know.
Zindra,
Nice to meet you both.
they get up with you and kind of hug everybody and just say, you know, obviously, we think all of you are doing a really admirable thing, and I hope that we'll see you all again someday.
That would be
So do I.
nice. And as we're like leaving and drifting away to our next path, I'm just going to be like, I'm gonna lean over to Nedry and be like, "Did you notice that Zinhorn's parents are literally Zinhorn's name? They
Oh.
must really love each other."
Or they were really stuck for a name. I won't tell him that though.
Okay.
I think that's a relatively common cultural thing, in this world of just like, they name the kid after, it's a thing. Anyway, where are you going?
I think we're going to Celta next because Zinhorn wanted to save Buster for last.
Okay.
So
All right. So I think as the three of you, Zaleen, Zinhorn, Nedry, as you make your way kind of out the front, you find yourself emerging into just a forest where you kind of smell the smoke of like a campfire, and you hear like talking up ahead, and you see that there's just a big sort of clearing with a bonfire, and lots of people just sort of like dancing around in the state of nature, so to speak. And to be clear,
They are skyclad.
indeed,
yeah, this is like a nude beach, guys.
they are celebrating in
Uh-oh.
the form that they entered the world. Yeah, so there's all different sort of people and races and everything, but there's different, everyone's just kind of, dancing, but then there's also people kind of just talking off to the side, but it does seem to be sort of just like, it's a bonfire party, and as you are in there, there's a moment as you are walking in that you see like there's little fireflies and sparks in it coming off the bonfire here and there, and there's a moment just for a split second where it seems like they all line up just right to have a little arrow pointing down at one particular guy, and then the pattern dissipates.
Wow, that's awesome.
I really
That's
hope the
our
dress code
guy.
isn't mandatory.
I'm not taking my clothes off.
And they're just kind of looking nervously, trying not to look anywhere.
And I guess we'll make our way towards the arrow.
Yeah, and so
Dissipated.
what you see there is what looks like a half elf man, with a long, like not particularly well groomed or well kept beard, long hair, but like just he does not seem self conscious about it or about not wearing clothes, and in fact he looks like he's having he is really into just dancing at the bonfire. Yeah. Dancing.
Oh dear. Excuse me, sir.
Oh, hey. Whoa.
Hey.
Hey, you're new.
Yeah, we just kind of got here, and we were wondering if we could ask you some questions.
holds his arms out like to offer a big hug, but like he doesn't move in unless you're like okay with it. Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he gives you a big hug.
Not at my height. No.
So we heard that you know some stuff about Dinethir and
Whew, whoa, oh, yay, whoa, where, yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, but, like, yeah, I haven't thought about it in a while, like, what do you want?
Maybe we could move somewhere more quiet to talk.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess, and certainly the music you're hearing now actually sounds kind of a lot more like it's being played just sort of on, like just percussion, like drums.
I was just
Kinda
gonna say bongos.
Yeah.
Bongs, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, sure, yeah, like we got, got a Like, you want something to drink? We got, yeah, hang on, come on this way. And he like takes you over like a little ways away from the bonfire, and then there's definitely like an ale keg and a bunch of steins there, and it's like, you want something? Hmm.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I'll have a drink.
Yeah. He hands out mugs and of ale, and just like what do you want to talk about dinner there for? I mean, well,
Well,
why?
like, how easy was it to, seal it away?
Okay. Uh, I guess answer not very. I mean, what kind of question is that?
Well,
Pedro's gonna
just
sit down cross-legged with his book open to try to take notes of all this crazy business.
just in case, like, it ever got unsealed and maybe somebody needed to seal it back up
Whoa.
again.
Okay. Oh. All right. No. Okay. It's not gonna get unsealed. No. No. Like
Um,
that. No.
well, how did you seal it?
Okay. Well, we did magic.
Who did?
Like, phew. Just give me a second. Well, like me and like Tillitha and Rupino and like the crew, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you know
Rupino.
some of this stuff. Like, how do you even know any of this?
I think that, like, I kind of know Rupino.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of have his tower, and I was wondering if you could tell me about him, like what happened to him.
What do you mean
and-
you have his tower?
Well, a pig sort of had it, like ate it, and we got the pig to barf it back up, and now I kind of have it.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty funny. It wasn't funny at the time because the pig ate a lot of stuff.
Oh, well,
And like we had to get swallowed by the pig and go inside, and it was
Whoa.
crazy. Yeah,
That's bananas.
it was. It was absolutely bonkers.
Like chunks of rock and musical instruments and
Yeah, like there was a
I-
person who got shrunk down so
Trees.
small that they
oh,
were like the size of a
Ugh.
flea.
You know what?
and it
You
was
guys
nuts.
are selling me on this. I bet you we can find a layer here. It's like that.
Yeah, it's possible, but like I've already been there, so I kind of don't want to go back, But maybe
Okay,
after
that's
we're
cool.
gone,
Like,
you could try it.
obviously there's time, right? Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
you got
It's
all the
it's
time
all
in the
good.
world. But like, so what happened to Rupino? Because he's kind of,
Well,
not
like, so here's the thing, right? Like, I mean, dinner there, kind of a drag. No.
right.
No. So, like that's why we sealed it away, right? So, like, like, it's honestly a little bit like this place, like, but like the opposite, right? Like, here's a place where like everything's great, and it keeps out all
But
the
in
bad stuff
Denethor,
and everywhere
or like
else.
Denethor,
But that
everything
was like
sucks.
keep the bad stuff in.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, people in there weren't happy about it. Like,
Right.
They were not in favor of our plan. But, honestly, like, by the time we got to that point, like, we didn't care really what they had to say. But like, so anyway, Rupino, like, couldn't let it go. Right? Like, that guy can't take a win for a win. Right?
right.
Like, you do a thing, and then what? You spend the whole rest of your life worrying about someone coming around to undo your thing? That seems like a waste of time to me.
So, did somebody, lock him away to keep him from worrying about it, or?
I don't know. I mean, if you say a pig ate his tower, I mean, that doesn't seem like something he'd just let happen if he was around, but I don't know.
What about Nedry? What's that other guy's name?
Randonell.
Yeah. What about Trendinel?
Trandonel is like kind of the same, but like proactive. Like, like, like he's the guy. Like, you know how you have like if you got some friends that are just hanging out having a good time, and but there's always one of them, and it's like you don't not like him, but he's the one that always points out if you're breaking the rules.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. Like, no, he's a good guy. I don't want to. I'm not trash talking Trandonel. He's a good guy, but he's definitely like the one who always knows what the rules are and if you're breaking them or not, and you better be aware of it, or else Trandonel is going to tell you. Because, yeah.
oh.
But like,
So-
I haven't talked to these guys in forever though, because like,
Right.
we did our thing, and then we kind of went our separate ways, and like, I've been in here because honestly, like I'll be honest with you, like like it was a good thing that we did to lock up dinner there, but like it wasn't like a great time. I'm not like pumped to be thinking about it, honestly.
right. I understand that.
But like
Um,
then after we came out of there, I found this place and it's like, yes, oh, so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean,
Didn't-
like we did some stuff, like we had, like obviously we're not like writing down in a book like how to undo the big magic thing we did, right? Like we're not we're not spreading that information around, obviously.
Well, I mean, it might be helpful just in case. I mean, you never know. What if we were to out there in the world
Well, no,
like
I mean
happen?
that's my point. Like, the thing, what we did do though was like made it kind of like we had like for the people who did know about it already, like, and I mean many of them like is the kind of thing that they felt like they wanted to just keep talking about it, keep thinking about it, and keep studying it, understand it more and more, and they just didn't understand that what we had done is take like, okay, here, oh, this is gross, but no, I can do it better. Okay, if you were like, okay, nature's my thing, all right, I don't know if you
Right.
knew that.
Yeah, I can see that.
um have you heard of like an invasive species?
Right. Yeah.
That is what Dinether was all ramping up to be, right?
Okay.
So what we did is we like bubbled them in, like, right? But that
Mhm.
said, we intended to last like forever. But like it made sense that at least, like eventually, like those of us who knew what was in there were gonna die, right? And what we didn't want is for people later to just come along and find our magic bubble and say, whoa, hey, what's this magic bubble thing? Maybe we should open it and see what's in there, because like that's bad news, right?
Mhm.
So we like built a temple and filled it with all of the stuff that basically says no, do not touch, don't open, bad, 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 bad. It's not cool in there. It's not worth it. Don't do it. So we made a temple to try to explain that. So like if people like hear about any of it, like obviously you did. So maybe I ought to just, you know what? Here's what's simple. Just go to the temple. Like we put all the stuff there.
Okay. Where,
in
where
fact,
is
I-
the temple?
Well, like there's the, what's it? The where the land meets the sea, like the beach. Yes, beach.
Okay.
Isn't that
So-
Eversham?
Well, I mean, there's like a little fishing village there. Maybe that might be what it's
Right.
called. I don't remember. But we built like I mean like if you find the temple like you'll know it when you see it. It's just right there. So like it's like in a cliff on a temple. But here's the thing: since you guys are already asking about this stuff, you're like advanced. Well, let's just skip a grade here. Hang on.
Okay.
One second, and he kind of wobbles for a second on his feet, and then he kind of hunches down and like puts his hands on his knees and says, "Just a second." And then he gets down on his hands and knees and he starts just like digging in the ground with his hands. And what he pulls out of the ground is just like this necklace that is shaped like a little crystal teardrop. He says, I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, you know, I'm staying in here. I don't want to go anywhere. Like, I'm having a good time in here. So, like, here, take this, and he's like swinging it around to see who grabs it.
I'll grab it.
Okay. That'll get you to like the second level, and
Okay.
and like I hope like you're why are you asking about it? Like, what did you want about it?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, there are. You know what? It's not a big deal.
No? All right.
I don't want you to worry.
Okay.
I don't want you to worry. You're here having a good time. and
Okay. You know what?
I don't wanna, like, stir
I'm
the
relieved.
pot.
I'm because like okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's like you know you were asking about Rupino and trying to know like they were the ones who are like, oh God, what if someone tries to proper bubble?
Right.
And it's like
Did
like,
did the two of them did they get along okay, or did they have like sort of a rivalry or anything like bad
mean-
blood between them?
not? I mean, I don't know. Not really. Like, oh. I mean, like, they each had their anxieties, right?
Yeah.
Like,
The kind of anxiety that like would feed off of each other and maybe drive
Yeah.
them sort of against each other.
yeah, you know, like,
Yeah.
like, here's what I'm saying. If the two of them were in here, they would not be in the same place. You know what I mean? Like, they would not be
Yeah.
in the same layer of the party, right? Like, I like this part. They're going to be in very different parts from each other. They're not into the same stuff. Mm-mm.
Now, like in your group of friends, was there anyone who I don't know, maybe just wanted to sort of shut them up, that got tired of listening to the two of them and their anxiety?
Well, you know, like, I, I'll be honest, like, it's just not something I've been, like, I've been kind of, like, enjoying it here because I don't have to, like, think about them anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, well, so, we had the whole gang, and everyone was kind of dealing with it in our own way, because, like, you know, I made it, like, doing it there, like, it was a bad place, and it was going to get worse for everyone, so that's where we had to do what we did, but, like, it wasn't all bad, you know, and, like, there was some stuff that we missed from inside, and everyone was kind of dealing with that in their own way, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know. So like I discovered in a very excellent way it's a party, and I found a great place to do it. So I'm good. Woo! Woo!
I get that, and I'm really happy that you found a way to
Yeah.
not have to deal with all that anxiety anymore. Was there anybody who sort of regretted what you did?
Well, I
Who
mean,
might want to try to like undo the good work that you
oh
guys
God,
did?
I hope not. I mean, no, I don't think so. Like, I don't think. Like, here's the thing. Like, you know, remember your first question, like how easy was it? And I said not very. Like we had to
Right.
work really hard to do it. So I mean, I feel like if anyone was not like all in, I don't think it would have worked. So, but that said, like the thing is, like there's always going to be like we had to do the bubble really good because like there's always going to be like pressure, right?
Right.
Because like the people in there they want to come out, and the people who are not in here, like that's the thing. People like mysteries, right?
Hmm.
You tell them, oh, oh, here's a perfect example. Have you ever seen people do that thing where someone like picks up a piece of food to see if it's maybe gone bad, and then they smell it and they go, oh, that smells so bad. You smell it, and then the other person does.
Yeah.
It's the same way with evil magic.
Oh, so they're like, here, look at this evil magic, and then
Yeah,
the other person's like, oh, it's evil, and then they show it to somebody,
yeah.
and it's
Like
like a cycle.
everyone thinks that they're the one that's going to be able to figure out how to do it and not be destroyed, and you know what? They're always wrong. But they keep trying anyway. That's why we had to do
Yeah.
the bubble really good. Like we were, like it was a pretty good bubble.
I bet it was.
Yeah, I was
Um,
breaking that thing.
I, I don't want you to worry about anything.
Okay.
Nedry, is there anything else? I mean, I know you always have a million questions, but
Andrew's been writing this book, and he has this look sort of constant near disgust on his face at the way this guy is just completely incoherent. But he does look up. What can you tell us about the others? We know a little bit about Rupino and a little bit about Trandanel and yourself, but we don't really know much about Tilith, Ustak, and Hestia.
Oh,
You all went your separate ways, I understand,
Yeah.
but we might want to talk to them if we can too.
well, okay. I mean, I've been in here a long while. I don't know where they are. I know that Ustak was working with Rupino. Like they were trying to see, like I said, Rupino is like kept worrying that something was going to go wrong with the bubble. So I think they were working together on like to see if they could figure out how to see what was still happening in there. But I don't know if they managed it or anything.
yeah, they did.
Oh, did it? Yeah? How did it
Yeah.
go? What'd they say?
Well, I mean, we don't know what happened to Rupino, but he did build a place with a
Well, like
seam.
I really did think that it was like good for him to have a project.
Yeah, I bet. He sounds pretty neurotic.
Yeah, like and so Ustak, like I feel like Ustak. I feel like Ustak was the sort of person that you little guy, what's with the glasses and the notebook. What?
Mhm.
Who are you?
This
My
is
name is
Nedry.
Oh, okay. Hey, cool. So, that really seems like you're like a book fan. Like you
Yes.
like them.
Yeah,
Ustak
of course.
believed that like regular books are a way to like you look in them and you learn about things in the past and sometimes things about the present, right? But like Ustak believed that one day a book would be written that you could read the future in it. And I'm not talking about your ordinary like divination, like, oh hey, is it going to be rainy today? I'm talking about like what path do I have to choose to result in the destiny 100 years from now? Believe that it was like deterministic, right? Like if you could see all the possibilities, you could pick the best one and walk that path.
Like a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah, something like that for sure. So,
Wow.
but like if there was a book that like you had to make certain choices and you could get to different outcomes, but it would be like if someone made a book of just the ending pages and then you picked the ending you wanted and it gave you the list of what decisions to make. Right?
Was Ustak going to make this book or find it?
Well, he believed that it was possible, and I think he was trying to figure out how to do it. But honestly, I think the problem is when you want divination stuff, like even if you're coming at it from the arcane way, like you really start getting into the realm of like the deities and extraplanar stuff, right? So like I know he was looking at the high upper planes, like Mount Celestia and Elysium and all that stuff, like it's just in that domain, so to speak. And I know that that's what they were into, but I also know that they were getting roped in by Rupino into that thing. So I don't know if it worked out for them or not.
Did Rupino have any objections to like Ustak's belief?
Well, no, because like the whole idea was, like if you you can pick the outcome you want, right? So like the whole idea was like, if you know which choices to make that keeps bubble from popping, you make those
Right.
choices, right? I can use another
Interesting.
beer. What are you about, you guys?
I mean, I think we're gonna have to get going, but we really
Okay.
appreciate like you taking time to talk to us.
Oh, sure.
Just
Like,
another question about Hestia.
oh,
I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
anything about that.
sorry, Nedry.
no, that's all right. So like, Hestia was, she knew. Okay, like I didn't know enough to test it, but she claimed like she could speak every language, and I think like she was on board for the whole thing, and like you were asking if anyone regretted it, and I don't think she did. Because, like I said, we had to all be fully committed to make the bubble happen. But she was definitely the one who like made it a point that we had to try to negotiate with them first. And she's the one that tried the most to like talk it through before we just bubbled them up.
Hmm.
So I suspect, like, again, like I don't know what she got up to, but my guess, just based on her inclinations, is that she would be out there trying to do something where she gets people to stop fighting each other. Like, just stop it. Like, like when there's war or something like that. Obviously, like nobody likes. Well, it's not true. I was gonna say nobody likes war, but it's not true because there are actually lots of people who like war. It sucks. But the point is that I bet she would be somewhere. She's trying to keep wars from happening. I bet you.
Okay.
Hmm.
Just one more question.
Hmm.
Thank you for your time. Tell me about Marushka.
Well, Marushka was, and like you see him actually, like this is really starting to kind of drain some of his, like inebriation. He's getting a little more subdued, right? And it's like, yeah, Marushka's got a rough deal. That was, like his, like because she's like her whole domain kind of just, when we had to do the bubble. We had to, but like, oh, like I don't know exactly what it's like for a spirit, but like, imagine if someone, like, if like if you got poisoned and someone said, okay, well, to cure your poison, we have to cut off like half your body. Like you'd be glad you weren't poisoned anymore, but kind of bummed that that's what it took, right?
Yeah.
And like the thing is, like she doesn't know it, but like when we knew her before and now it, and you see he's actually starting to look like this is getting to him in a way that nothing else had, and at a certain point you see that starting to happen, and then there's a little bit of feel like you hear a little bit of a rustling in the shadows around you here in the forest.
I feel like this would be a perfect opportunity for Carolina to waltz back in with a bunch of goblets of ale or a
Yeah.
bunch of flagons of ale.
Mhm.
They a run for the house.
Hey, my new best friend! And he starts like dancing over to you.
I'm just gonna lean over to Nedry and be like, I think we pushed it to the max. I don't think we're gonna
I
get
know.
anything else out of him. I know you
I had
want
to
to
know as much as I could, though.
I know.
He's the only person that I've ever been able to talk to who's been there.
I know. That I think we got some good insights that we need to discuss, but we can wait until we're out of here.
Yeah. I didn't really
Um,
like talking to him anyway.
Yeah, he's wasted. Like super wasted. But I guess, giving everything they went through, maybe that's the only way he can deal with it, which is something we need to think about.
I'm never giving up.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's a dark path that we're on, and not everybody's gonna handle it well. So,
Nedry will kind of reach up and patronizingly, not really thinking it's patronizing, but sort of pat her on the shoulder.
You'll do fine.
yeah, I'm okay. So yeah, hi Carolina.
So,
Hi.
Carolina, as
Carolina,
you're hearing the
drinks.
music, having learned some of the songs, you're definitely listening to the rhythms being played here, and you're definitely like you're getting more of the complexity in it.
So you guys ready to go
Awesome.
find Buster?
Yeah.
All right. So we will look for the map and follow the next path.
Well,
I
so
guess.
yeah, I think that like there's not one of those maps in here, but as you start looking around again, you see there's the wind blows up, and you see some of the sparks coming off the bonfire for a minute, and they seem to be blowing off in a certain direction.
Well, I definitely have to give a big hug to Selter because he's like the coolest person out of all these like, mythological figures we've met. I like him. He's a friend.
He is all aboard for like hugs. He's
so
back having a
naked.
good time.
Oh, that does not bother me at all because I am
Alright.
like people watching. This is my jam.
Yeah. So he definitely like with seems eager to just head right back into, the around the bonfire headbanging dancing again.
It's very primal.
We go now.
Yes, we must go. I'm sorry, Carolina. I know you love a good party.
So
It's very interesting the size differentials in the different, bits and bobs. Fascinating.
so
Trees. There's lots of trees.
as
So
you
we follow the fire.
as you follow that path, there's a moment where you almost kind of stumble a little bit. Like you feel like, imagine if you had just not been expecting a flight of stairs, but all of a sudden you just step and you're stepping down a stair, but you feel like there's just a little bit of a tug behind you that keeps you from toppling over. So you're startled that you suddenly step down but something keeps you from falling. And then you look, and your foot seems to have just gone right through the ground. Like there's not a hole. It's almost like it's an illusion.
Oh, that's weird.
And if
What,
you,
what did they say was next? The gray render holding pens?
Yeah.
And so, if you continue, you find you're going down a flight of invisible stairs and just, zoop, zoop, zoop. And then you find yourself once again kind of in the backstage area. And I think now, Carolina, you've been attuned to it a little bit more, so you recognize like there's that discordant element here, but you realize that it's like a reflection. It's like a reverse of some of the melodies, and it almost ends up just being a little bit like it's the same music in a minor key compared to a major key, that kind of idea. But in any case, you are descending into an area where you can see that there's it's like a big open space, almost like if you imagined a train station, only there's no like trains or tracks. It's just like a big area that has a lot of different tunnels leading around it. And you can see that the whole place is kind of writhing with these little sort of like shadowy creatures. But then there's also pacing around is several of the gray renders. And you can see that most of them are, Buster's size plus 50% at least. Like they're bigger, but as you're kind of looking around, you hear ba-dum 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 ba-dum, and then Zinhorn, you are tackled to the ground by Buster, and he is
I think we found him.
He's standing on your chest, looking down at you like.
I'm gonna give him like a huge hug and like play wrestle with him.
Yeah, nice. He wrestles back with you, and he's better at it, but he seems to enjoy it.
Really hope that's the right one.
Nedry.
You might just have a natural call for these things.
I mean, what do you think? All gray renders look the same? Come on. It's obviously him. You can tell by these
Buster.
few little spots right here.
Yeah.
I'll
And
see
the
it from over
scar
here, thank
here, where he got attacked.
Yeah, it's definitely him.
And these little
Yep.
wrinkles like right under his many eyes, like they're very different.
I've never looked that close, and I'm not going to start.
Oh, Nedry. And then I pat Nedry all patronizingly, but I don't think it's patronizing at all. But I do it on his head.
So is there anything, like a stick or, big, anything I
there's
can
not
use
just like a
as
stick on the ground in here. I mean, you can grab something out of your own pack or whatever.
Okay. I don't know what I want to find something that I can play with Buster with.
Play with my snake staff.
Not if you want it back in one piece.
You could activate the snakes. I mean, make it more challenging.
I'm gonna like pull out my flute and play some music for him.
Okay. Make a performance check.
Is Lynn prepared to plug her ears just in case?
16.
That's not bad.
Oh, okay.
So are you playing like the music of this place that you had shared with Buster, or just something else?
Yeah. The
Okay.
music that I shared with him.
He definitely he sort of stops panting and kind of cocks his head listening. He's definitely watching you. And actually, after a moment, you sort of realize that several of the other gray renders that had been kind of sort of patrolling the area seem to be glancing over in your direction as well.
Haha, we'll take a whole horde of them with us.
No.
I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
Caroline is
I
like
think we
building
can-
our gray render army in her head.
Well, because I'm looking at my universal speech feature.
I was
And
actually thinking that.
it says I have gained the ability to make my speech intelligible to any creature. Like that's all it says. I was looking to see if it said that, the creature must have a base intelligence score, be able to speak one language. It does not say that.
I wonder if there might be beast versus creature.
Well, there's also just the element of like even like speak to animals or whatever. There's going to be a limitation of how much you get back or how likely they are to respond, even if you can be understood. You know.
Really, my thing here is that they just need to understand me. I'll be able to tell whether or not,
Yeah.
like Buster's response will be, I think, pretty obvious.
Can you cast it on me, or
No.
do you have to be the one that casts it?
Me only.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't understand them. It's just you can make them understand you.
Right.
Right. So, I guess tell him that we're leaving and we may never be back. But if he wants to come with us, he's welcome. But it may mean that if he gets hurt, that he'll die instead of, living here and being happy.
So, kind of position myself in, direct eye line. I'll use my universal speech. I'm gonna try this and see what happens. So, we're about to leave this place. Hopefully this works and you can understand me.
He's definitely like looking at you in a way that he hadn't previously. He's like,
And we wanted to give you the choice to stay here, or if you wanted to come with us. But it's very dangerous, and we don't want you to get hurt.
He kind of looks at you and then kind of looks around, and Zinhorn, he kind of he sort of trots over to you and reaches out with like his mouth, and like not in a bite like a violent chomp, but he sort of like takes your sort of forearm in his mouth and then just kind of like tries to just like lay down with your arm in his mouth.
It's very sweet.
He wants me to stay.
Or at least
I'm gonna
leave a part of you behind.
Nedry.
It's a logical interpretation.
No, if he wanted that part, he'd have it already. There'd be a lot more blood. Anyway, I'm gonna scratch him and like snuggle up with him for a minute.
Okay.
But
He kind of
Crouch down
closes his
again.
eyes while you're scratching his 6 yellow
Yeah.
eyes.
I'm gonna crouch down again, kind of on my knees, and look at him. It's like, we know you would love him to stay. And he would like to, but there are things we have to do that only we can do.
He's kind of like listening to this again, and I think he lets go of your arms, Zinhorn, and kind of like sort of he starts kind of going over and like nuzzling like against your head for a moment, but then you realize he's kind of like he sort of scoots underneath and like lifts you up on his back, and then he kind of like gets down on his haunches where you're sort of balanced on his shoulders, and he lifts up his front feet and he's like
I guess he really, really wants me to stay.
I think he might be claiming Zinhorn, Zaleen.
I mean, I can't reason with him. I've never been able to reason with him.
So I will
Yeah.
point at the other gray render, still looking at Buster. It's like, you know how they have a job and you have a job here. You have a purpose, something that you are here for. This is what you were made for. This is your home. For us, our home is out there, and we have to take care of it. We have to protect it, guard it. That's our purpose, our job.
So like Zinhorn, like he at this point he's basically kind of just like he sort of like scooped you up so that you're sort of riding his shoulders, kind of, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the position he's kind of, and he just kind of like just sits down on his butt and he's just got you on there and he's just like he's holding your leg so like you wouldn't like leave, but he's just sitting there and
All right, I'm gonna like lay my weight further on his head so I can try and get 1 foot over
okay.
so that I can dismount.
I mean, if you try to get off, he doesn't hold you there.
Okay.
But he I guess just is watching you and as you sort of climb down.
So Carolina, let him know that if he comes with us, I'll always try and keep him safe. But I want him to be where he's always going to be the most happy. But we need to go because it's painful to say goodbye.
Buster, you have the choice to come with us, if it's what you want. But Zinhorn wants you to be happy and safe, and he will do everything he can to keep you safe. And we can send you back home, but like I said, it won't.
Go
We
ahead
just want
and
you
make an
happy.
insight check.
Show was better at these. 12.
Okay.
Call me in.
So here's the thing. It's clear that he's hearing you and paying attention in a certain way, but I think based on what you know of him in general and also how he's acting right now, you feel like he's getting the gist of this more than he's understanding the details. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in the meta, he's
Yeah.
not got a high
I mean, it's
intelligence.
kind of
Yeah.
like talking to a dog. I get it.
Yeah, but at the same time, like you feel like the emotion of it is absolutely coming through though, right? Like it's more about like the more complicated the idea is, the more he's doesn't seem to be absorbing it, but the idea of like you all are going to go and he needs to either go or stay seems to be like that's absorbed, and he kind of like looks around at the other like gray renders in the other areas and and then like nuzzles into Zinhorn's arm again.
Okay. I think it's time to call for Putresca. And where are we going?
It is something we do have to discuss. We had hoped that
Yeah.
Selter might give us a bit more.
Well, that he
Larry.
mentioned that there
He
was
did?
a temple thing
Yeah.
that said, you know, that
Near
we could get to
Emersham.
level 2. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think it was Emersham was where we were going, but I thought we were going to see the ruins of a temple.
Right. So, but
Yeah.
Right.
I'm having another thought. So, I mean, you guys know how I feel about the story of the heroes of legends, but really, I promise this is like different.
Here we go
If
again.
if we went to Emirate Arboris, we could probably find a messenger to transport something to take those amulets back where they belong.
Mhm.
And likely there would be a guide that could, just show us or take us to, Emersham when we're finished with that.
But we can
Maybe.
just go to
I mean-
Emersham.
Well, we gave our word that we'd return those amulets, and
We
I'm
gave
not
our
a
word we
thief.
would return the amulets when we got to the city of Brass. We aren't getting there yet.
We're probably never getting there, really.
Do we ever reach our destination?
But
It's
I-
really
I'm not-
hardly ever happens.
I don't want
time
to
is
excuse a
important here.
theft. I don't want to excuse a theft on a technicality.
I don't want to steal from an ancient red dragon.
Also that.
Yeah.
It isn't like we
That's
aren't
a
intending to
really
give them back,
bad
but there are
policy.
things that are important. Time is important, and
Yes, I
while
understand
I'm
that. And
sure
we can
that
do both
visiting
things.
this tree will be very, very nice, but it's not where we need to go.
But it can take us exactly where we need to go. And we
Maybe,
can do both
or
of the
this
things
can
that we
take
need
us
to do.
exactly where we need to go now, and we can deal with the rest, the amulets, later.
Look, I
Okay,
am not
but-
going to sleep until those amulets are returned.
All right. I know I usually side with Carolina because I love her, but here's the thing. I'm siding with her because I see the reason in her argument, but also Emirate Arboris is probably the least likely place that the friends of the Emperor will be looking for us. And
Or
it will
they'll get there before we do, and by the time we get there,
They've probably
We're walking
already
into a
been and
trap.
gone by now.
yeah, I don't think they're going to be looking for us at Emirate Arboris.
And if they have, like, if they have people from the, the Temple of Celestia, whatever her name is, not
Solomonia?
Solomonia, that's it. That they're probably been like scrying us, keeping tabs on us. That's what they do. They like to know things, just like Nedry, and like they've probably been following us all along. But like if we just like pop down to Emirate Arboris, like they're not gonna expect that. They could track us there and then be on their way there, and by the time they get there, we'll all be in Embersham already.
I'm sure they know how the tree works just as well as you do, probably more.
Yeah, but
And
we've
they
been
are
pretty
probably tracking us
unpredictable at this
here
point.
because this place is outside of everything. So if
Mm-hmm.
we appear in Emersham, they won't even know until we're already left there.
Well, except they knew that's where you were going.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like that's what I'm saying when I agree with Carolina, that they
We
already
either
knew
go there
that was
before
hard.
they have a chance to really set in, or we go there after they've already set in.
But
I
I
think we need to go to Emirate Arboris and return the amulets.
amulets.
Yeah.
No.
I
If the
don't
three of
think
you
they'll see
have
it coming.
decided, there's not much I can really do. I still think it's a mistake.
I'm
It'll be
sorry,
fine to
Nadine.
see this tree. Don't question the fact that I'm interested in it. That's never not going to be true, but I just worry that we're never getting into the place we need to get early enough. And this
We're
is our
gonna
one
go-
chance to do that without any disruption.
that we know of. But if they're already
Yeah.
there waiting for us, they could completely.
Then they're still going to be there when we go to Emirate Arboris, and we still won't know.
We might be able to prepare more. And the thing is, we have a way to get in, and they don't.
Exactly.
I still think it's a mistake to waste too much time, but we'll see.
I'm sorry, Mitri.
Yeah.
Getting used to it.
Maybe they have a library at Emirate Arboris.
We
Well, I'm
won't stay
sure
there
they
long
do.
enough to
They
go
have-
there, so don't even start.
People from every plane come
We
through
won't
there
have a
all
chance
the
to
time.
talk to them anyway. So don't even start with the libraries. If
Well-
anything, I'm going to have to write my own just so that I have one.
Yeah, but I'm sure we'd find a bookshop or a stall selling rare books in passing at the very least.
I'm sure it'll be hit by lightning or struck by acid or just be crushed under a large creature that happened to step in the wrong place.
You have a very poor attitude about this. I would think that, being here and, this is a decent place. It's all right. Should lift your spirits that there's something good left in the world.
And I may never see again and didn't see
It'll
for
be
long enough.
Oh my
It'll be
dear.
fine. We have
It'll be
each other,
fine.
and really, what else do we need?
And also
Books.
remember we made pizza. It was
Yeah,
glorious. That's a good
Yes.
memory.
And the
Maybe we'll
McGill.
get back to Bashan sometime and find this place for real.
Yes.
Maybe. All right. Putresca, It's time for us to go.
The floor from underneath you basically just immediately like turns to liquid, and you're just falling through like a sluice, like almost like a water slide. And then
Like
all of a
Time
sudden,
Bandits.
or I was thinking the Goonies water slide, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like,
That's a
but
better
it's
water
dark
slide.
though, and all of a sudden you're just whoom, 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 whoom. And one by one you are find yourself sort of just spit out on some kind of like a like sort of soft like grass, and you it's the four of you looking around, and you're kind of like wet in a vaguely unknown liquid. Like, it doesn't smell bad or anything, but it also seems like it's maybe just a little bit too slimy to be just water. And you're looking around though, and you seem to be in some kind of a park. Um, and there's a moment where it's just the four of you, and then boom, 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 Buster tumbles down and like knocks you over like bowling pins. And that's where we will end tonight's session.
Before we do,
Okay.
can I actually check to see if I still have Putresca's hair?
What you have is it's become like a little lapel pin. Like it's now like a little metal lapel pin that looks like a lock of hair.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Nedry and tell him that I know there is magic that can be used to make keys. And someday you're going to be powerful enough to travel to different planes. I read about it in one of the books in that one library. I can't even remember where now. It was a minute ago. But you can take this and make a key that will let you travel back to that plane. And I give
Really
it to
think she
him.
would let me in?
I don't know. I don't know how plane shift works. I'm not
Well,
a
also
magician.
to be frank, they were trying to persuade you to stay in the first place. So I don't think that
Right.
they're
True.
like they're not determined. The problem is not that you aren't allowed back in. The problem is finding your way back in.
Yeah. And like now we have an object from that plane that can be used to make a key so that you can plane shift.
Thank you.
Aileen, that's brilliant.
See, I told you this. All we need is each other.
And also, Nedry, you can have this crystal to unlock level 2 or whatever.
Need to study it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a crystal of my own. I don't need another one.
And I'm just prestidigitating all the slime.
All right. Well, so as we crane shot pan away from our party, we will rejoin them next week to figure out what's next for the Pocket Protectors. But one thing for sure, it will be adventure on so many levels.
So
Oh,
many
many
levels.
levels.
Level 2s.